Minorities, but I think it's even harder when you're black. It's like being a minority and being black, and it's like, yeah, really stepping in, you really understand, like, okay, no, like in college it's different. In the adult world, they really see me for my skin tone, for who I'm representing myself as, and on that only they will judge slowly. So it's, I feel like reality, I'm letting it settle in and understanding, like, yeah, no, this is a doggy dog world.
Like when I talk with my boyfriend, he's like, "Oh, you're worried about being black? Try being black and being Muslim." Because it's like try being black, being Muslim, and then your name is Hassan. Just go there, go get a job.
Honestly, I'm like, okay, I hear where you're coming from.
Like, okay, maybe we don't have the same struggle. Like, we really don't have the same struggle. Try
No.
that and let me know. I'm like, ooh, okay. So there's like so many layers.
When it comes to struggle of blackness, oh my goodness. Yeah. But I hope that, I really hope, especially like you said with summer, more of your workers will be available. I hope that by the end of summer, we can all just kind of look back and be like, okay, like I got to where I wanted to be. And then with fall coming up, that's a whole new season transition. Like, it's a lot to celebrate, because last year that pandemic knocked me on my ass.
I was so scared last year. Like, I'm not going anywhere. Even grocery shop, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because he was working, like, he worked the whole year. So like, okay, I'll just go. We'll just do groceries. And so I'm like, me, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying at home.
Honestly,
I never like going anywhere.
I'm like, that's where the danger is, outside.
Yeah, you want me to stay home? Sign me up. Like, I mean, I stayed inside for like 3 months. Literally, I didn't drive. My car broke down because I didn't drive my car, and it wouldn't even start anymore. Like, okay, you need to start driving this car. I'm like, what do you want me to go? Like, I'm not going anywhere.
Right. And so, like, for the pandemic, it was really nice up until maybe the ending of 2020, where I was just like, okay, so like, when is this ending? Like, what's happening? Because we're getting close to 2021 and it's still rolling over.
Same. I'm like, ooh, like, oh, do you want to come out? Like, don't you see the pandemic? Like, come out where? I'm not going anywhere.
I'm like, don't you see the cases of people like dying? Like, for me, I was like, people are literally like dying, and people are getting sick, and hospitals are like getting full. And I think for a lot of people, well, I mean, I should say, like, my parents, they work at a hospital, and so I kind of always knew what was happening, and I was like, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Like, no good news. So why should I be out? Like, crazy. Yeah, no. And I'm thinking so many.
Every weekend, like literally every Friday, she lived in Warhouse. Like, when everything was closed, I was so eager to go out, but now things are reopened. I don't even want to go out anymore. Like, life is funny.
Right? And it'll turn you into an introvert. I bet a lot of people that did like to go out kind of don't mind staying home like that. But I know the people who were eager, some of them are still out. And some people never stayed inside. They just were out during the whole pandemic and now. So
I know a lot of people like that, but me, I'm like, nah.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna take my health serious. And plus, I also have African parents. Like, if there's a picture of me outside with a bunch of people, I don't think I'd hear the end of it until no. So the fear of them was more than enough for me.
But for me, like, my sister, she worked at the hospital. She did get COVID, and then she went to my mom and dad. Thank God they got fine. So, like, yeah, I know, like, this is serious. It's not.
Yeah. And my mom also, she works at a hospital. She got COVID too. So, like, no, it was kind of like, okay, you guys keep joking around, but no, this is like real life. So
I think it's just people who didn't have anybody, like close people to them who got it, like they didn't take it seriously. Like, okay, I didn't know anybody who died. I had no relative who had it, like, or a friend. Take it seriously. But I'm like, yeah, I know my sister at the hospital every day, so I'm not gonna joke about it.
Yeah, right? No, 100%. And knowing, because the thing is, they're the ones that see it up and close. They're the ones that really are in the heat of it all. And so it's completely different when you're living the reality compared to people who are just watching the news. Like, it hits you so different. Like, that's where life and death really is happening. And so, yeah, no, your whole perspective is completely different from probably the mass of the majority.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. My third question is, you also have a foundation as well. Can you tell us a little more about the BHM Foundation?
Okay. I had the idea for the BHM Foundation in 2017, period poverty and just like sustainable ways for women, like just find sustainable ways for us to live because I'm really conscious about what you put on your body, like whatever comes in contact with your body. In 2017, I came across a nonprofit called Days for Girls. That's actually the first time I was exposed to the term period poverty. Like I didn't really know that was a thing. So I started doing my research. Like period poverty is the lack of access to menstrual supplies. I didn't really like think it was even a big problem here in the US. Like when people think about America, like, oh yeah, it's such a like prestigious country, people don't struggle all this thing, but it's a problem even here. So I was really, really surprised. So from there I was like, okay, I'm gonna start doing research about pads. I'm like, I wanna know what I put in contact with my body every month. So I started doing research about what chemicals they put into like these pads and all this thing. I was really, really scared to find out what actually goes into a pad. Are there any sustainable ways to still go through your month, like a monthly cycle? So I came across reusable pads. So I started like I was really again, I was obsessed. Like that time again when I started doing this, like I was really, really obsessed. So every day reading. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to make my own reusable pad. So I tried and I failed. The first like sample that I made, like I didn't use the right amount of fabric and the right amount of layers and stuff. So it leaked. Like first trial, it was a failure. Second failure, and then I gave up. Like I kind of put back, like anything like period poverty really. Like I just pushed it back for a while. And then in 2019, at the beginning of the year, I was told about the Iowa State like pitch contest for small businesses. So they sent me an email in January, like, hey, like we know that you have a business. Do you want to come pitch your company? Like we have this competition in the summer and stuff. I didn't because was doing another competition, so I didn't do it. But a week before the pitch contest, I get a second email like, hey, we're still looking for people to sign up. Like, are you sure you don't want to pitch your business? I'm like, okay, maybe I should. So that time I was in New York. I was like pitching something else. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back and see what this is about. So when I went back, I was trying to figure out, okay, do I pitch my business like Belange and Made, or do I pitch my pad? Because they were like trying to find people who have like innovative ways for startups and stuff. Like, okay, so I was trying to figure out like what should I pitch, but I'm like, yeah, let me just pitch this pad and see what happens. So the night before the contest, I made again 2 samples. Those were really successful. Like I got the right fabrics, right amount of layers, and I tested it at night. Everything worked really well. Like I was really happy. And then I'm like, okay, I have to find a name. So that night I'm like, okay, I have to find a phone. Still my boyfriend like, hey, what should I name it? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, how about Eve? Because I was thinking, I'm like, okay, we're making this reusable pad for a woman. I feel like every woman, like the way I see every woman, like you're the first woman to do something. Like you're always the first to do something. But like every woman is unique. And I think about Eve, like I'm a Christian, so I believe in Genesis, like how God created the world, and Eve was the first woman. Like she's the mother of all. I believe every woman is the mother of everyone. Like whether you have children or not, like you're a mother. So like, okay, I'll just name it Eve, and then I'll pitch that tomorrow. So the next day when I went there, I was really, really intimidated. Like I showed up with 2 pads, and then the first that I made out of like reusable, oh, I recycled some window curtains. I find out like I show up there, people have posters, they have like binders, like business plans and all. I didn't even have a copy of my business plan. I'm like, oh my lord. I'm like, is it too late for me to go home and just give it up? Then I ran into one of my friends. She was also pitching her business. She's like, no, you'll be fine. As long as you know what you're gonna talk about, you should be fine. I'm like, okay. I didn't know that we're actually pitching at the state fair in front of everybody. So the public, like people would just walk and come see you pitch your business. I'm like, oh my God, this is like the worst thing for me. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. So I calmed down. It was my turn, and I got really scared because pretty much the person that I was going against was one of my professors. Like, oh my God, she was pitching her business too. I'm like, geez, okay, I'll try. So she had a business, she did everything. I'm like, oh my God, okay. I just stood up there. I'm like, hey, my name, and instead of saying my name is Belange Mutunda, I said my name is Belange and May. Like that's how it started. Everybody was like, huh? Like, yeah. So I was so scared. I started like when I start speaking about something that I like, I completely forget like anybody's around. It's just like me and that thing. So I started like speaking about my company, how I started, and what brought me like to America and all this. I didn't realize that people were coming in, like especially women and young girls, because I started speaking about like pads and period and all these things. There were like so many people, and then at the end of the pitch, like the judges were really really happy, but people had to judge, so they were like, we had like jars and then beans, so they put like soybeans in my jar. Like I was advanced to the final. I'm like, okay, I was really happy. I'm like, oh, I'm impressed. Like things went well, and then that was like a Wednesday. On Saturday we had to go back again and pitch, but that day was like the judges were judging, like that was only up to the judges to advance like to the final. So I went there again, I pitched my business, so like, okay, yeah, you did well, you can go home, we'll call you at night so you can find out if you want or not. So I went back home, like I was so, like that day I wasn't really happy about my pitch, and some of the questions that they asked me, like I couldn't really answer, like, okay, I just I didn't make it. So I went back home, took a nap. In the middle of my nap, my phone rings like, "Hey, you just got $3,000 for your nonprofit." And so I'm like, "Oh." They're like, "Yeah, you can come back tomorrow. Come to the award ceremony. You can meet President Wendy and all this." I was so happy. So from there, that's like the foundation actually started, like the BHM Foundation. At first, we called it the Global Sisterhood Foundation, but then we just switched to the BHM Foundation just to make everything cohesive with the brand. So that's how the foundation started. So the headquarters in my home country. I wanted to start where I'm from because that's where like the issue is bigger there. So I'm like, yeah, here people still have access to a lot of things, but back home, like literally there's nothing. So I called my mom and I'm like, hey, we got a grant. They were like so happy, like, okay, we get the nonprofit registered and all these things. So we got it registered in 2019, and we're planning to officially launch everything in 2020. But when COVID happened, we had to shut down and everything. So we shut it down until like this year. Like I can't believe it's been 2 years now. It actually happened. So on April 19th, we finally launched. So it was a really good event. I wish I could have been there, but couldn't travel. But they had like a cookout. They invited people, like all women and men. I don't know if you saw the picture on our social media, but they shared some like pads, African print, and then food. It was really really good. So my mom just like introduced the nonprofit to like everybody, told them about the reusable pads, all the benefits, like financial benefits and health benefits for the pads. So everybody was really excited, and they were just like looking forward to the next event. So they start going to like high schools and like orphanages and women shelters and like prisons and stuff, just to talk about the nonprofit and start distributing those pads. So the purpose is just like trying our best to fight spirit poverty. We know that we're not gonna like end the whole thing everywhere in the world, but I know change starts from somewhere, and if you can do something, why not? So I think my background in fashion really helped me to start this, because I had to have an understanding of like sewing and just like construction of like things, so I can know like how to make those pads and stuff, and just know the fabrics too. So yeah, so that's why brought us here. So everything is just like operate, like right now they're like fully operational back home, and my mom and dad are my like the co-founders, and they run everything back there. So it's been really really, that day I even cried, because it's something that I've been working on for so long, and it finally happened. Like I got the picture, and I actually missed the event because I overslept. I overslept. I was supposed to be on Zoom with them. So I woke up at 10 a.m. here. It was already like 8 p.m. over there. I found so many missed calls, like, hey, where are you? Where are you? I'm like, oh my gosh. I put my phone in the no disturb. So I missed my own event, but it went really well. I was really, really happy. So yeah.
That's so good to hear. Oh my goodness. I'm excited to see where you go with your foundation, because to be able to fight something such as period poverty, like you said, in a space where we both know the access to resources is very, very limited, you are going to change the way, even if it's one woman's life, you're going to change somebody's life with the way that they are going to have convenient access to resources, especially when it comes to something as periods, because as women, we know how it is. It's hard, it's messy, it's not easy. And so I am super excited, like a year from now, what you guys will be doing. This is incredible. So we're gonna stay tuned, everyone, for BHM Foundation. Awesome. Okay, so with that, are there any specific challenges throughout that you remember facing that in the end taught you something?
Okay, I think the first thing was probably language barrier, because obviously, like moving from one country to another, and like French speaking country, moving to like like English country, like I don't even know the language, and I had to adjust a lot. It was just like really, really a lot. I'm glad like the first semester that I took at DMAC, I had to take the speech class, so that helped a lot. So I'm really glad that I actually moved here, because it helped me just like, I feel like once you move from your comfort zone, like you get a broader understanding of what's happening in the world. So like I was really happy that I moved, and at a really young age, because it also helped me just be responsible. Like I moved on my own. You move from Africa to come here in the US, and in the Midwest with no family, like in the middle of nowhere, you have to be on your own. So it really, really helped me. Like as a person, it helped me grow and just be responsible, and like, okay, I'm on my own, I'm relying on myself, and I have to be responsible. But then for the business also, it just helped me like expose my craft to like a whole different world. Because okay, moving from Africa and then going to the Midwest, being an African designer and doing African prints was like, okay, this is a lot. Like there's a lot happening here. So I was really happy, and kind of it helped me too, because where I was in Iowa, like I didn't know a lot of African designers. So kind of had like where I was, I kind of had like the monopoly in the market. Like, okay, I'm the only person that I know is doing this. So like whatever prices I give you, like you take it or you leave it. Business wise it was good, because like yeah, it was to all these people. And then like being at Iowa State, I was really lucky because they did a lot of PR for me. So a lot of people came from there, and even now, like as a, like alumni, they still do it because of like being featured in the magazine, and they do like spotlight and all this thing. I still get a lot of exposure from there, so it really, really helped me. And now that I moved from Iowa to California, I left a lot of customers in Iowa. Like I'm really, really happy that they're still supporting the brand until today. Even the nonprofit, yeah, like I get a lot of supporters from Iowa, so I'm really glad. At first, I didn't see it like that because it was really hard. Like I moved when I just turned 19. So I was like pretty young, like to a whole different country. Sometimes it was really, really depressing. I'm like, yeah, I want to go home. I just want to give it up. But when I look back, like I'm almost 25 now, I'm like, yeah, it was like the best decision that I have it took. And it was my dad who pushed me to be in a different area. So I'm really, really grateful that things worked out. So
Incredible. That's incredible. Like you said, to be honest, like 19 years old, which kind of leads into my next question, but 19 years old, being able to move here by yourself, like it is so different culture, different perspective and how people live here, the way they talk, the link, like literally down to the language. For you to be able to come this far and still continue to go. I know your dad is like, like she did it. She really did this thing.
you're the
So no,
proudest
that's
dad
awesome.
ever.
Yeah, he really wears it proud. That's why your foundation, he's happy to rep
It's
because
there.
you made it.
And the messenger, like it's really nice though, because I don't know a lot of people who can, like African kid who can talk about period with your dad. Like it's not a conversation that you have, like period.
Honestly,
You don't talk about that. But I'm really, really happy that this brought like a whole different kind of relationship with my parents, because like we
yeah,
have grown up conversation, and we know, like I know even from my personal experience, like growing up, like as a young girl when I got my first year, I couldn't even talk about it with my mom. Like it was so uncomfortable. But now, like, okay, mom, I think you should have told me like a few things. But like we have grown up conversation, and we're actually able to, like, from our experience, we're able to help other people, because we know that this is a conversation that needs to be talked about. So I'm really, really happy that we're there right now with my parents. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. That's good.
Yeah.
My next question for you is, what is something you would tell your 19-year-old self?
I would
Any
say just
piece of advice?
I would say, like, if I look, just be easy on myself, to be honest. Like I'm kind of like a perfectionist with everything that I wanted to do. Like I always had to be perfect. And I would say, like, also have fun, because very, like, okay, I feel like I missed out on like certain things. I, like a college student, I didn't participate in so many things because like I have my business. I had to worry about my business all the time. And even like, especially when I was at Iowa State, I wasn't in anything. I wasn't involved in anything, because like I'm done with school. I have to go home. I have to like pack orders, and she's like, I didn't enjoy being a student. So I was just like, okay, try to find a balance between you being a business owner and being a student and just being a young girl, like have fun. But now it's already past. I'm 25. I don't know how I'm gonna be doing this. Like I can't be welding out anymore. But yeah, just like be easy, like be easy on myself. And I mean, you still have to take your life seriously. Yeah, you're building a future. It's for like your legacy, but you have to like allow yourself to live and be a person and have fun too. Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
Be easy and rest.
Yeah.
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 What do you find the most challenging right now as a fashion designer?
I think with the pandemic, it's just like remain creative because I know that like at least for me, when I stay for a long time without doing anything, I feel like I kind of lose my creative touch. So like it's just like continue being motivated. There's like so much happening. On top of like outside of COVID, there's still so much that we're struggling right now. Like all these like protests, all these like racial stuff. It's really, really difficult to just like stay motivated and continue creating with everything that's happening. So I think like that's something I've been struggling with. And when I feel that way, I'll just like try to like maybe sketch, try to create something. And right now I know like there is a dress that I've been seeing in my head popping up for like the past month. I was telling my sister like there's a dress I'm seeing in my head. I have to make that dress. So sometimes when I feel like really, really uninspired and like I feel like I'm not getting that creative side of me, I was just okay, let me just try to do something. So it's really challenging right now just to stay creative. And then as a black designer, just being black is a struggle in this country. Like I don't even know what else to add because just